Marcus Webb had always been the kind of man who moved through life quietly, doing what needed to be done without waiting for applause or acknowledgement. He worked the early shift at a gas station on the edge of town, the kind of place where the fluorescent lights flickered in winter, and the coffee was always slightly burnt. But the regulars never complained because Marcus always remembered how they liked it. He had been there for 11 years, and in those 11 years, he had never once called in sick, never once left his post early, and never once turned away someone who needed something, even when that something wasn't on any menu or price list the station kept. It was on a Tuesday morning in early November when the kind of moment happened that Marcus would forget about by lunchtime, and that a young boy named Daniel Rivera would carry in his heart for the next 17 years. Daniel was 9 years old that morning, walking alone to school in a thin jacket that was 2 sizes too small, his backpack hanging off one shoulder, his sneakers soaked through from a puddle he hadn't seen in the dark. He had stopped at the gas station not to buy anything, because he had nothing to buy anything with, but because the warmth bleeding through the glass door had called to him, the way a lighthouse calls to a ship that has lost its bearings. Marcus saw him standing outside, nose pressed to the glass, and didn't think twice. He pushed open the door and said, "Come in, it's freezing out there," with the same tone he might use to greet his own nephew. Daniel stepped inside, and Marcus handed him a hot chocolate from behind the counter without being asked, then disappeared into the back and came out with a spare jacket that had been hanging on a hook for months, left behind by a customer who never returned for it. He helped Daniel put it on, tucked the collar up around the boy's ears, and asked if he'd eaten breakfast. When Daniel shook his head, Marcus slid a wrapped sandwich across the counter and told him it was yesterday's special and he'd just throw it away otherwise, which was not entirely true. He sent Daniel off to school with warm hands, a full stomach, and a jacket that actually fit, and then he turned back to his register and forgot about it entirely before the next customer walked in. Daniel never forgot. He didn't forget the hot chocolate or the jacket or the sandwich. He didn't forget the way Marcus hadn't made a big deal of it, hadn't asked for a thank you, hadn't looked at him with pity or suspicion, just treated him like a person who was cold and hungry and deserved to be warmed and fed. Daniel grew up in a house where kindness was rare enough that when it appeared, it left a permanent mark. He carried that Tuesday morning with him through middle school and high school, through a difficult adolescence and a community college application he almost didn't send in, through a business degree he earned while working nights, and through the slow, unglamorous climb toward something better. By the time Daniel was 26, he had started a small nonprofit that provided winter clothing and meals to children in low-income neighborhoods across the city. He named it Twice because of what Marcus had done without thinking twice. One afternoon, a local journalist writing a profile on the nonprofit asked Daniel where the idea had come from, and Daniel told the story of a gas station on the edge of town, a flickering light, and a man who handed a cold boy a hot chocolate, without making him feel like a charity case. The journalist tracked down Marcus, who was now 61 and still working at the same station, his hair gray but his manner unchanged. When the journalist read him Daniel's words, Marcus sat quietly for a long moment and then said, "I don't remember that day at all," which made the journalist pause, and Marcus added, "But I'm glad it happened." The story ran on a Sunday morning, and by Monday, the nonprofit's donation page had more contributions than it had received in the previous 6 months combined. Daniel drove to the gas station that week and stood at the counter across from the man who had shaped the entire direction of his life. He thanked him, and Marcus waved it off with the same easy generosity he had offered a cold boy 17 years before. Some people spend their whole lives waiting to do something great, not realizing that greatness sometimes looks like a hot chocolate on a Tuesday morning in November. If this story moved you the way it moved Daniel, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner Stories, where we believe that the smallest acts of humanity leave the longest trails of light.